Welcome to NIMROD TV, your channel for insightful analysis of global events and their far-reaching consequences. The recent surge in coups across Africa is not merely a series of isolated incidents, but rather a symptom of deeper systemic issues plaguing the continent. The resurgence of coups in Africa poses significant challenges to Western foreign policy objectives, disrupting carefully crafted diplomatic relations, jeopardizing economic interests, and potentially creating new security threats. Africa has experienced a wave of coups in recent years, raising serious concerns about the future of democracy on the continent. The recent coups in Africa have also brought to the fore the role of external actors and the shifting geopolitical landscape on the continent. The Sahel region, a vast semi-arid belt stretching across Africa just south of the Sahara Desert, has emerged as an epicenter of instability and a breeding ground for coups. To truly grasp the complexities of coups in Africa, we must journey back in time and confront the enduring legacy of colonialism. The Cold War, a global ideological struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union, cast a long shadow over Africa, further exacerbating existing tensions and fueling a wave of coups and proxy wars. The early years of independence in Africa were marked by a wave of optimism, a belief that the end of colonial rule would usher in an era of peace, prosperity, and self-determination. The recent surge in coups in Africa presents a thorny diplomatic dilemma for Western nations. Beyond the immediate diplomatic challenges, the resurgence of coups in Africa represents a worrying trend. The erosion of democratic norms and the backsliding of hard-won democratic gains. The changing dynamics in Africa demand a fundamental rethink of Western engagement strategies. Traditional approaches, often characterized by a top-down approach focused on aid conditionality and security cooperation, have proven inadequate in addressing the root causes of instability and preventing coups. A more effective approach requires a shift in mindset from transactional engagement to genuine partnership. Western nations must move beyond simply reacting to crises and instead adopt a more proactive and preventative approach that addresses the underlying factors driving instability. This includes supporting sustainable development, promoting economic diversification, strengthening democratic institutions and empowering local communities. Investing in education, healthcare and job creation is crucial for fostering a sense of hope and opportunity, particularly among young people who often bear the brunt of poverty, unemployment and marginalization. Empowering women and girls through education and economic opportunities is not only a matter of social justice, but also a smart development strategy, as it has been proven to contribute to greater economic growth and stability. Furthermore, Western nations should prioritize partnerships with civil society organizations, human rights defenders and pro-democracy activists who are working tirelessly on the ground to promote democratic values, hold leaders accountable and build a better future for their countries. Supporting these local actors who understand the context and challenges better than any outsider ever could is essential for fostering sustainable change and building resilience against future shocks. Remember, your voice matters. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and share this analysis with your friends to help us spread awareness about this critical issue. The recent wave of coups in Africa sends ripples of economic uncertainty across the globe, particularly impacting Western nations with deep trade and investment ties to the continent. The instability disrupts supply chains, creating market volatility for essential commodities and raw material. From minerals crucial for technology to agricultural products, disruptions have far-reaching consequences. Take, for instance, the mining sector. African nations are key suppliers of cobalt, lithium, and other essential minerals. Coups disrupt production and export, impacting the global transition to green energy. This disruption drives up prices, impacts manufacturing, and slows technological progress. Coups cast a long shadow over foreign investment in Africa. Uncertainty makes investors wary. Businesses thrive on predictability and rule of law, both jeopardized during coups. This hesitancy impacts economic growth and limits opportunities for Western companies. Coups often lead to a decline in good governance and transparency. Weakened institutions and faltering accountability deter foreign investors and hinder economic development. This cycle deepens poverty, fuels social unrest, and sets the stage for further instability. The economic implications of coups in Africa are further complicated by the continent's abundance of natural resources, often referred to as the resource curse. While these resources hold the potential for economic prosperity, they have, in many cases, become a source of conflict and instability. Coups, often fueled by a desire to control these lucrative resources, exacerbate existing tensions and create opportunities for external actors to exploit the situation for their own gain. Western nations, traditionally major players in African economies, are increasingly finding themselves competing with new actors like China and Russia, who are keen to secure access to Africa's resources. These nations, often less concerned with democratic governance and human rights, are willing to strike deals with coup leaders, offering financial assistance and investment in exchange for preferential access to resources. This competition creates a complex geopolitical chessboard where economic interests are intertwined with strategic calculations. China, with its Belt and Road Initiative, has invested heavily in infrastructure projects across Africa, securing access to strategic ports, railways, and mines. Russia, leveraging its military prowess and expertise in extractive industries, has forged alliances with coup leaders, providing security assistance and technical expertise in exchange for mining concessions. This growing influence challenges Western dominance and reshapes the geopolitical landscape, potentially leaving Western nations at a disadvantage in securing resources crucial for their own economic well-being. This competition for resources, fueled by coups and instability, risks exacerbating existing conflicts, fueling corruption, and undermining efforts to promote sustainable development. It also creates a moral dilemma for Western nations, forcing them to balance their economic interests with their commitment to democratic values. Western nations must embrace sustainable and equitable engagement in Africa. Prioritize sustainable development, good governance and empowerment. Invest in education, healthcare and job creation. Support diversified economies and break the resource curse. Promote entrepreneurship and responsible investments. Ensure good governance and transparency. Strengthen democratic institutions and combat corruption. Listen to African voices and support their aspirations. Engage with civil society and young innovators. Respect African leadership in development. Foster genuine partnerships for a stable, prosperous Africa. Don't forget to like and subscribe to NIMROD TV. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. The recent spate of coups in Africa has profoundly reshaped the continent's security landscape. The Sahel region, grappling with Islamist insurgencies and organized crime, is a focal point. Coups in Mali and Burkina Faso have impacted counter-terrorism efforts. Western nations are reassessing their military presence, focusing on African-led initiatives. Supporting the G5 Sahel force with training and equipment is key. However, political instability and corruption remain challenges. The coups in Africa have also paved the way for the emergence of new security alliances and the expansion of non-Western actors in the continent's security domain. Russia, in particular, has seized the opportunity to bolster its influence in Africa, capitalizing on anti-Western sentiment and offering security assistance with fewer strings attached than traditional Western partners. The Wagner Group, a Russian private military company with close ties to the Kremlin, has become a key player in several African countries, including Mali, the Central African Republic, and Libya. Accused of human rights abuses and fueling instability, The Wagner Group provides security services, military training, and strategic advice to governments facing internal threats or seeking to consolidate power. China, while primarily focused on economic engagement, is also expanding its security footprint in Africa. The establishment of China's first overseas military base in Djibouti, strategically located near vital shipping lanes, highlights Beijing's growing strategic interests in the region. China has also increased its military aid and training to African nations, seeking to bolster its influence and secure its economic interests. The growing presence of Russia and China in Africa's security landscape presents both challenges and opportunities for Western nations. On the one hand, it raises concerns about the potential for increased competition, instability, and the erosion of democratic norms. On the other hand, it also creates potential avenues for cooperation on shared security challenges, such as counterterrorism, piracy, and transnational crime, provided that such collaboration is grounded in shared principles and respect for international law. The evolving security landscape in Africa demands a nuanced approach from Western nations. Prioritize diplomatic engagement, conflict prevention, and address root causes like poverty and inequality. Support African-led security initiatives and respect sovereignty. Engage with traditional and emerging security actors. Ensure commitment to human rights and democratic values, like subscribe and activate notifications for more updates. Your support helps us bring you in-depth analysis. As we've explored in this comprehensive analysis, Africa stands at a critical juncture, grappling with a resurgence of coups that threaten to unravel decades of progress towards democracy and stability. These upheavals, driven by a complex interplay of internal and external factors, present profound challenges not only for the continent but also for the wider world, particularly for Western nations with long-standing ties to Africa. The allure of quick fixes offered by military interventions, often cloaked in promises of restoring order and prosperity, often proves illusory. History has shown time and again that coups rarely deliver on their promises. Instead, they tend to perpetuate cycles of violence, instability, and authoritarianism, undermining the very foundations of sustainable development and human progress. The stakes are high, not just for Africa, but for the entire global community. A destabilized Africa risks becoming a breeding ground for extremism, organized crime, and mass migration, with ripple effects reaching far beyond its shores, impacting global security and prosperity. The interconnected nature of our world demands that we view these challenges not as isolated events, but as interconnected crises requiring collective action. The international community cannot afford to stand by passively as coups undermine democratic institutions, erode human rights, and exacerbate existing conflicts. A complacent response will only embolden those who seek to seize power through force, perpetuating a cycle of instability and jeopardizing the hard-won gains of recent decades. Addressing coups in Africa requires a coordinated international response, prioritizing diplomatic engagement, conflict prevention, and supporting African-led initiatives. Investing in education, healthcare, and job creation is crucial. The international community must present a united front against coups. Promoting transparency, accountability, and responsible engagement is essential. The path forward requires a paradigm shift in how the international community engages with Africa. It demands a move away from paternalistic approaches and a genuine embrace of partnership, recognizing the agency and leadership of African nations in shaping their own destinies. Supporting the aspirations of African people for democracy, good governance, and a brighter future requires listening to their voices, respecting their choices, and working collaboratively to address shared challenges. It requires investing in the continent's immense potential, fostering sustainable development, and empowering its people, particularly its youth, to become agents of change. The challenges are undeniably complex, but the costs of inaction are far greater. The international community must summon the political will, the resources, and the unwavering commitment to stand in solidarity with the people of Africa as they navigate this critical juncture and strive to build a more peaceful, prosperous, and democratic future for generations to come. Thank you for joining us on NIMROD TV for this in-depth analysis. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Your support helps us bring you crucial insights like these.